Hi. I was clinically dead for 24 minutes. Ask me anything. Less than edit. This post is now closed. Thank you for 2 hours of interesting questions. Please spread awareness about sudden cardiac arrest, and feel free to bring your additional questions to my Cognitively Intact website at laurencanaday.substack.com. I went into sudden cardiac arrest at home this past February. My husband called 911 and started CPR. It took 24 minutes for EMTs to resuscitate me. After 9 days in the ICU, I was declared cognitively intact and have no visible brain damage on MRIs. I also have a normal EEG despite a history of seizures and status epilepticus for over 30 minutes right after resuscitation. I tested positive for COVID at the time of admission to the ICU. I'll be here for an hour or two to answer your questions about sudden cardiac arrest, heart failure, seizures, epilepsy, SICDs, surgically implanted defibrillators, seizure support service dogs, CPR, PTSD, etc. etc. Thanks. Proof. Photo with username posted to my Substack newsletter. Link can view the book I wrote, stamped author copy and picture at link. When, if, you're about to die of old age, what are you planning on telling your kids and grandkids? Don't worry, I've done this before. Love that. You, in the hospital in 50 years. Person in the bed next to you is dying. You, first time? Do you plan on telling people you died, but got better? Edit. On a more serious note, how long did your husband have to do CPR? Did he know how, or did the 911 operator give him instructions? My husband did CPR for 4 minutes and the operator told him what to do. He'd never done it and hadn't been certified in a long time. Luckily we are close to a fire station and EMTs arrived in 4 minutes to take over and use the paddles. Less than edit. My husband corrected me last night to say he was winging it based on past training. The mouth-to-mouth and hands kind. Not hands only we learned this year when we took a new class. And the 911 person did say to do CPR, asked if he had already started but didn't instruct him over the phone. The rest of what I wrote should be accurate, just wanted to clarify. That man totally winged it and got the job done until help arrived 4 minutes later. Greater than. Wow. 4 minutes is an incredible response time. That, plus having a shockable rhythm, is incredible luck. Certainly goes a long way to explain how you came out so well. I mean, catching COVID and dying isn't great luck of course, but at least you got better. I know. 4 hits with the paddles. I love my local EMS workers and volunteers. 4 men even being in town is incredible. Especially for a rural area. 8 first responders won awards for their successful save. Do they think that COVID caused the sudden arrest? Not sure why this is downvoted. Yes they do, they explicitly told me that in the ICU. It's downvoted because there is a not insignificant portion of society that genuinely believes COVID is just a cold. They don't realize that myocarditis is a possible side effect of viruses. Or they believe the only way COVID can cause heart issues is through vaccination. In short, they've been propagandized by fake science and emotions. It's unfortunate. While you were in a dead state, do you remember anything? What did you experience? What do you remember once you woke up? Were you confused about what year it is? I was in a coma for 2 days and when I woke up I was very confused about being intubated and didn't have any short-term memory for several more days. I never regained memory of the week prior or most of the time in ICU and am foggy on about a month prior. I remember only a feeling of extreme peace that I honestly seriously miss. That peace stayed with me for a few weeks upon waking. I don't know when I started to understand what year it was and answer neuro questions accurately, but I think it was a few days. I kept forgetting why I was in the hospital, I'm told. How has your perspective on death evolved based on your experiences? I feel like there's a very thin line between life and death, and while I'm grateful to have more time with friends, family, I don't feel worried about death anymore. I'm much more worried about the pain often experience in life. What's your go-to soup recipe? So glad you asked. Sweet potato kale soup. Link. Did you experience anything in the time when your heart stopped? What did it feel like when your heart stopped? Pain? Tiredness? Nothing? I had no warning and no pain. I lost consciousness and my husband found me seizing. but on the inside I woke up very stressed about where I was, in ICU, with a tube down my throat, heart catheter, defibrillator surgery, etc., but peaceful about the unconscious time. How did it feel? What do you remember of what happened until you woke up? No memory of shapes, images, people, tunnels, light, but I have a very distinctive emotional memory of peace and go revisit that place on the floor where it happened to calm myself down when stressed. How long was it until your husband started CPR? Was your heart racing prior to you passing out? I lost my mother this summer after a family vacation. My stepfather was out of the house. Her cause of death was officially cardiac-related. My entire family, wife, 2 kids and myself, all tested positive for COVID the day that she passed. Was just curious if her passing might have been COVID that did something weird to her heart and no one was around to do CPR. My husband heard me fall and came in right away, then called 911 and started CPR. So maybe 2 to 3 minutes. I don't remember anything beforehand now. My memory was erased by the experience, but my husband tells me I said oh shit and then fell down unconscious and having a grand mal seizure. I'm very sorry of your mother. COVID very commonly affects the heart, unfortunately. It started getting more attention this year, but I saw 2 doctors due to dizziness and seizures a month prior to my cardiac arrest and nobody even thought to test my heart. I could have had myocarditis for a while and thought it was just standard post-COVID fatigue. It was a complete surprise that I still tested positive at the hospital, as I'd had COVID 2 months prior to that and thought it resolved. Husband here. Cardiac arrest wasn't immediate. At first I was just doing our standard seizure protocol, that is keeping her safe and timing the seizure. After a few minutes I noticed her having trouble breathing, which is when I checked vitals and called 911. Things went south from there. What is the thing that no one so far asked you about this experience that you feel like you would like to share? Had to think about that for a second. I think people assume that when something so drastic happens there's like a social safety net for you. Like you get special assistance. Wrong. I was just sent home while still in searing pain from ICD surgery and on 10 meds that dropped my blood pressure so low I had to go back to the ER. My husband and I were left to fend for ourselves. No social worker appeared to tell me how to apply for disability, and in the US this is hard to get for cardiac arrest. So hard I didn't even try despite being unable to work right now. And doctors only have 10 minutes with you at a time, so I answered most of my own questions, needs by finding support from other survivors. Which isn't easy to do. There aren't many of us. Also most research concerns heart attacks and other more common cardiac problems, not sudden cardiac arrest. It blows my mind that sudden cardiac arrest is a leading cause of death and nobody really talks about it, prepares to do CPR or use AEDs as needed, or helps those who go through it. I'm doing what I can, but I'm no expert. It just makes me sad. Sometimes it felt like the world preferred I hadn't come back. It definitely was not prepared to take care of me. I will do what I can in my small way to prevent others feeling like that. Not sure what else to do. Is your new birthday the day that you regained consciousness? Prime opportunity here if you ever wanted to change your birthday. I love that. Yes, Feb 7 feels more accurate than my actual birthday. Glad you're still here with us. Good job on your husband for doing CPR. How long did he do compressions before help arrived? Did you have to do any physical or speech rehab? I have a bunch of other questions, but I'll leave it at that unless there is a lull. Good luck with everything. Thank you so much. My husband is my hero. Yes. He did chest compressions for 4 minutes before help arrived. I did cardiac rehabilitation for a few months so I could build up walking distance again, and almost had to do speech, swallowing rehab, but could eventually swallow liquids after about 6 weeks.